Building a robot's hard. This is how to build a robot, part 2. In this video, we're going to talk a little bit about power transmission, how you get power from a motor to somewhere else in your robot. There are a whole lot of motors that are available for use in FRC. Each year, there's a page in the manual that describes which motors are legal for use and with which motor controllers. A big part of the design challenge of FRC is packaging your motors and then getting the power from the motor output to wherever else it needs to go in your robot, whether this is into a rotary motion system like a flywheel or an arm, or into a linear motion system like an elevator. The default output of your motor is what we call a 1-to-1 ratio. It has whatever speed and torque the motor begins with and no changes. But when you do power transmission, a lot of the work you're doing is translating that ratio into a different number. So you get a different output speed and torque that is more useful for whatever mechanism you're building. There are a whole bunch of different types of gears that we use in FRC. The classic one that you're probably familiar with is what we call a spur gear. It's got essentially a round shape with a bunch of teeth on the outside and a very flat two-dimensional profile. Spur gears are sort of the basic building block of gears. You're going to see them most frequently in gearboxes and in other transmission styles. Gears are a really fast way to transmit power from one location to another location and to change the ratio between those two systems. A smaller gear driving a larger gear is what we call a gear reduction. It means that your output is going to have more torque and a lower speed. When you're driving a smaller gear with a larger gear, this does the opposite. You'll get a higher speed and a lower torque on your output. There's a very simple equation for your gear center-to-center distance for when you're designing whatever plate your gears are going to be connected to by the output shaft and the shaft of your motor. The equation is simply center distance is equal to the number of teeth in one gear plus the number of teeth in the second gear over 2 times the diametrical pitch of both gears. The diametrical pitch has to match for this equation to work, so make sure if you've got a 20 dp gear, you're always meshing it with another 20 dp gear. Gears frequently have bosses on either side. This is to make sure that if you're running a gear against a bearing, you're only running against the inner race of the bearing, and you don't drag the gear against other parts of your assembly. For some transmissions, you will need to grease spur gears. Always check with the manufacturer if it's a manufacturer transmission, or if you're building it yourself, make sure to take into account that you may need grease for that assembly. If you ever need help when designing with gears, there are a number of calculators online that are specifically designed for FRC students, mentors, and teachers to be able to design their robots around. Remember, when you put a gear pair together, it's going to reverse the direction between your input and output. This is actually a very useful tool for switching the direction of certain mechanisms. Other gears you might find in FRC are bevel gears, helical gears, double helical gears. Gears as a form of power transmission are typically the heaviest option, especially if you need to go a long distance. There are weight-relieved gears, but they're still going to be a lot heavier than something like a belt and pulley system. Gears are also typically the loudest thing you're going to hear on an FRC robot. Chain has been used in FRC robots for a long time to get power transmission from one spot in your robot to another spot with a distance you don't quite know ahead of time. There are calculators to help you plan your chain distances for a number of links, though keep in mind, chain does stretch, and so it might not always be accurate. There are a lot of different tools that can help you adjust the length of your chain. Half links, master links, 1.5 links. There are a lot of different options if you need to change your chain distance just a little bit. Keep in mind you should also tension your chain and plan for that in advance. You can tension chain with something like an idler sprocket or a standoff. Really, there are lots of options here. Just make sure that your chain is tense, especially in a situation where it's under high load. Also with chain, you can do ratios just like you do with gears, and it will depend on the difference between the number of teeth on your driving sprocket and your driven sprocket. But it works practically the same way, except it doesn't change your direction. Chain is generally pretty robust, especially if we're using 35 chain, which is sort of the larger size that we use here in FRC. It's pretty hard to break once it's installed, but also it can be kind of a nightmare to install. You gotta make sure you have the right tools, make sure you have the right amount of chain, and make sure it is perfectly tense when you do it. So it's a little bit tougher to install, it's a little bit heavier, but generally it's going to be a pretty robust system to things like backlash. Another common form of power transmission you're going to see on FRC robots are belts and pulleys. There are a couple of different styles of belt and pulley, so just make sure that you're always choosing pulleys that match with the belts that you have. Belts and pulleys work very similarly to chain, except you're not going to be stitching a belt together while it's attached. You're going to be sliding 2 pulleys on with the belt already connected onto your system You can get a belt on afterward if it's properly tensioned with center to center distance, but it's going to be a bit tougher. Belts are lightweight, strong, and easy to tension if they're a little bit out of tolerance. There are belt calculators online to tell you exactly the belt distance you're going to need, and even feature scripts built into Onshape that can help you calculate this when you're designing a plate or a structure on your robot. Similar to chain and gears, you can develop a power transmission ratio between two different pulley sizes that depends on the number of pulley teeth on each pulley. Pulleys do have some drawbacks in that you might lose a couple teeth if you are using them under extremely high load. They're also strong in other directions if you're using it to pull an elevator up and down, but side-to-side loads, not so great. Belts also don't reverse the direction of your power transmission, just like chain. There is a bit of a trick if you want to get a timing belt to also reverse your direction, just like a gear would. You can twist the belt into sort of an infinity belt pattern. This can be really helpful if you need a lightweight way or a neat packaging way to reverse the direction of your power transmission without having to use gears. Polybelt is a great choice to transmit power from one location to another location. Oftentimes this takes the form of a conveyor belt or like a conveyor passageway for balls or other types of scoring elements, and it can really take sort of whatever path you've designed for it in terms of where you put the crowned pulleys in your system. The pulleys that you use in polybelt systems are not like the pulleys that you use in timing belt systems. These are toothless. They work via friction with the poly belt itself, and they have a crowned point in the middle. This is sort of counterintuitive, but the belt will always ride to the highest point on whatever thing it is riding on. So that's why there's a high point in the center of your crown pulleys so that the belt doesn't slip left or right off of them. Don't use polybelt in situations where you're going to need a lot or even a medium amount of torque. Because they're a friction system, they are going to slip if you over-torque your system. Note that polybelt is much weaker than some of these other types, and you could get it to tear or even rip just by pulling on it really strongly. Now that we've talked a little bit about the mechanisms of power transmission, let's talk a little bit about the products you're going to use in these systems around that power transmission. In a motion system, there are two types of axles. We call them a dead axle or a live axle. A dead axle doesn't necessarily spin itself, but the objects on it are spinning. Whereas a live axle, the shaft itself is spinning and it's in bearings that are keyed to that shaft. A lot of what we sell here at AndyMark has hex bores. We think this is a really great way to get away from using keyed round shaft and allow you to put your motion components on live axles together. So the entire axle is spinning everything that you need to spin on it all at once. You can always create different sections of your hex shaft, like rounded sections that will allow things to spin as if it were a dead axle. For basically any motion system, you should be using bearings or bushings to make sure that your spinning components spin smoothly on the system. There are a couple different shaft standards that we use in FRC. Here at AndyMark, you're typically going to see 1/2" hex and 3/8 hex, but other vendors also use spline shaft, 15-tooth spline, or rounded hex. Everyone makes mistakes when it comes to power transmission. So here's a couple of thoughts that I have to help you avoid some of the pitfalls that many make when they do this. Make sure you're being very careful to make your system well tensioned for what you intend to do. It doesn't always have to be perfect, but you should match the amount of tension you have with the kind of mechanism you're designing. If you're rotating a giant arm, your system should be pretty tense. If you're spinning a shaft on an intake, you can get away with less tension. Make sure that your power transmission stages are well aligned. For belts, this could lead to you popping over the flanges on your pulleys. For sprockets and chains, this could lead to excess wear on them. For gears, if your teeth aren't aligned, you might see excess wear in the gears. Just make sure that whenever you make one of these systems, your input and your output are well aligned. Remember, there are a whole bunch of calculators that can help you do these things, but don't trust them completely. Many times when you go to put something on the robot, you'll find that a belt is stretched a little bit, a chain is different than you would expect, gears wobble a little bit more around the shaft than you would expect. There are going to be differences when you put it on the real robot, and you may have to make an adjustment that doesn't fit within those calculators. Power transmission is a foundational skill when it comes to building a FRC Robotics competition robot. Make sure that when you design your robot, you're being very careful about how you build these systems, the kind of wear you expect to see on them, and how to actually assemble them. Always remember, there are a tremendous number of community resources to help you when it comes to power transmission. And if you can't figure it out, you can always ask. And that is power transmission for FRC Robotics competition robots in How to Build a Robot, Part 2.